Bennington, Vermont, nestled amidst the verdant embrace of the Green Mountains, always projected an image of serene New England charm. Its historic covered bridges, quaint village greens, and the gentle murmur of the Walloomsac River painted a picture of idyllic tranquility, a place where time seemed to slow, preserving the quiet beauty of a bygone era. Yet, beneath this picturesque veneer, a subtle unease had long simmered, whispered in hushed tones among the locals, tales of inexplicable vanishings that defied logic and left only chilling questions. It was a place where folklore intertwined with unsettling reality, giving birth to the chilling moniker, the Bennington Triangle. Into this deceptively peaceful landscape stepped Sarah, a young investigative journalist whose ambition burned with an intensity fueled by a personal tragedy. Years ago, her own sibling had vanished without a trace in a similar unexplained incident, far from Vermont, leaving Sarah with an unyielding quest for answers. A relentless drive to expose the truth behind such baffling disappearances. Bennington's recent string of puzzling cases had drawn her like a moth to a flickering, dangerous flame. She arrived, notebook in hand, her gaze sharp, ready to peel back the layers of local reticence. Her investigation began with David, a local hiker renowned for his meticulous planning and extensive experience in the wilderness. David had simply evaporated into the dense Vermont woods, leaving behind only his abandoned car and a chilling void. Sarah's initial inquiries were met with a wall of polite, almost practiced skepticism. Locals, protective of their town's image, offered platitudes and theories rooted in misadventure, never venturing into the truly unsettling. Undeterred, Sarah delved into dusty archives, unearthing old newspaper clippings and faded police reports that confirmed her suspicions. David was not the first. A pattern of disappearances, stretching back decades, all within the geographical anomaly known as the Bennington Triangle, began to emerge. Her path soon crossed with Detective Miller, a seasoned local lawman whose cynicism was as ingrained as the lines on his weathered face. Miller, a man of facts and logical deductions, saw Sarah's theories as nothing more than sensationalist conspiracy mongering. He was fiercely protective of Bennington, determined to maintain order and find rational explanations for every mystery, especially those that threatened the town's quiet reputation. Their initial interactions were tense, a sharp clash of perspectives. Sarah, driven by an emotional past and an instinct for the unknown. Miller, grounded in the tangible, wary of anything that strayed beyond his grasp. Despite Miller's dismissive attitude, Sarah continued to uncover unsettling similarities between David's disappearance and the older cases. Each vanished individual, though diverse in background, had disappeared under eerily similar circumstances within the triangle's boundaries. She found cryptic symbols etched into old maps, heard snippets of local legends about whispering woods and lost souls, dismissed by others as mere folklore. But for Sarah, these were not just stories. They were breadcrumbs leading into a deepening mystery. Then came the second disappearance, sending a fresh wave of terror through the community. Emily, a bright young college student visiting the area for research, vanished from a well-traveled trail, a path she had taken countless times. This event escalated the tension dramatically. Even Miller, pragmatic as he was, found it increasingly difficult to dismiss. What truly shocked Sarah, however, was the discovery that Emily, too, had been researching the very same local legends, the same cryptic symbols, the same forgotten tales Sarah herself was pursuing. Emily had been on the verge of a breakthrough, or perhaps too close to the truth. A growing sense of responsibility weighed heavily on Sarah. She felt an inexplicable pull, a chilling intuition that her past was somehow catching up to her, that the Bennington Triangle might hold answers not just for its victims but for her own unresolved grief. The thought that she might be next, venturing ever deeper into the enigma, sent shivers down her spine. Yet she pressed on. Among Emily's belongings, Sarah found a fragment, a half-finished research note, a cryptic map with annotations, hinting at something unnatural, something ancient. Deciphering a part of Emily's clue, Sarah realized it pointed to a specific secluded area within the triangle, known locally as the Whispering Hollow. It was a place she felt an inexplicable, terrifying pull towards, a place where the whispers of the past seemed to converge. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. The Whispering Hollow beckoned, a dark maw in the verdant landscape, its name a chilling invitation. Despite Detective Miller's increasingly urgent warnings, Sarah felt an undeniable compulsion to enter. He had seen the fear in her eyes, but also the unyielding resolve, a reflection of his own grim determination to find answers. He knew she would go, with or without him, and a nascent, reluctant trust had begun to form between them. So, with a heavy sigh and a loaded sidearm, Miller had agreed to accompany her, a silent guardian against the encroaching unknown. As they stepped beneath the ancient gnarled canopy, the air grew heavy, thick with an unnatural stillness. Sunlight struggled to penetrate the dense foliage, casting the forest floor in perpetual twilight. A pervasive, damp fog snaked through the trees, clinging to their clothes and obscuring their vision. The usual symphony of forest sounds, chirping birds, rustling leaves, the distant hum of insects, was absent, replaced by an eerie, profound silence that pressed in on their ears, broken only by the crunch of their boots on the leaf-strewn ground. Sarah's compass, usually a steadfast guide, spun wildly, its needle dancing erratically, mocking their sense of direction. Fleeting shadows seemed to dart between the trees just at the periphery of their vision, and she swore she heard disembodied whispers, indistinct and unsettling, carried on a breeze that wasn't there. Deep within this spectral embrace they stumbled upon a small ramshackle cabin, seemingly swallowed by the encroaching wilderness. From its depths emerged a figure as ancient as the trees themselves, the old-timer. His eyes, deep-set and weary, held a lifetime of secrets, reflecting the very shadows of the hollow. He spoke in a gravelly voice, recounting forgotten tales passed down through generations of his family, the original settlers of this land. He spoke of a malevolent force, an entity that did not seek to harm, but to collect, to draw in those who ventured too close, those whose minds were open to its subtle call. He warned them against disturbing its slumber, his words laced with a deep-seated fear that suggested he had witnessed its power firsthand. His reluctance to share was palpable, a desperate effort to keep the secrets of the triangle buried, but a deeper, more profound sense of impending doom compelled him to speak. The old-timer's stories resonated with a chilling discovery Sarah had made earlier in Bennington's dusty municipal archives. She found evidence that a former county sheriff, decades ago, had deliberately suppressed multiple reports of strange phenomena and disappearances, labeling them as accidents or runaway cases. This betrayal, a calculated act to protect the town's nascent tourism industry, or perhaps born of his own terror, deepened Sarah's distrust in authority. It also solidified her resolve. If even the law could be corrupted by the triangle's influence, then the truth would require an outsider's unwavering gaze. Miller, initially skeptical of the old-timer's mystical ramblings, found his own logical explanations crumbling. A sudden piercing shriek, echoing from the depths of the hollow, not animal, not human, sent a primal fear through him. Later, he discovered his own police-issued GPS device completely dead, its battery inexplicably drained despite being fully charged moments before. The unexplainable was becoming undeniable. He looked at Sarah, his eyes now devoid of cynicism, replaced by a growing understanding and a shared sense of dread. Their initial divide had vanished, replaced by a fragile, yet firm, alliance. His motivation shifted from merely protecting Bennington's image to protecting its people, even from a threat that defied all known understanding. Sarah, guided by Emily's fragmented map and the old-timer's cryptic warnings, found a clearing within the hollow. There, among ancient moss-covered stones, she uncovered a series of intricate symbols, identical to those in Emily's research, and eerily similar to the faded drawings in the old-timer's family grimoire. They weren't just symbols. They were a key, hinting at a portal, a dimensional anomaly, or perhaps an ancient entity that drew its sustenance from the very fabric of reality. The disappearances weren't random. They were a cyclical pattern, a deliberate act of harvesting. Then, a discovery that chilled her to the bone. Among the symbols, partially obscured, was a faint, almost invisible etching, a unique, almost identical glyph to one she had seen in her siblings' childhood diary, a doodle they had made just days before their own disappearance years ago. The Bennington Triangle wasn't an isolated phenomenon. It was part of a wider, darker tapestry. Her sibling wasn't just gone. They had been taken by something akin to this. A wave of fear, cold and suffocating, washed over her, yet it was intertwined with a desperate, burning hope for answers regarding her past, for understanding the fate of her lost sibling. As if sensing her profound realization, the entity within the triangle stirred. The whispers grew louder, more distinct, forming fragmented, disembodied words that seemed to pluck at the deepest fears within their minds. The fog swirled violently around them, forming ephemeral shapes that seemed to reach out, intangible yet menacing. A sudden, powerful surge of energy ripped through the clearing, throwing Sarah and Miller violently to the ground. They scrambled to their feet, disoriented, barely escaping as an ancient, gnarled tree, seemingly struck by an invisible force, crashed down exactly where they had stood moments before. The immediate danger was terrifyingly real. Gasping for breath, Sarah clutched Emily's final journal. It described Emily's last moments of discovery, detailing what took people and, more chillingly, why. But the information was incomplete, ending abruptly with a chilling, inhuman sound that seemed to tear through the very fabric of the recording, leaving a void of unanswered terror. The fragmented knowledge gleaned from Emily's frantic final notes, combined with the old-timer's ancient lore, coalesced into a desperate, risky plan. Sarah and Miller, their faces grim but resolute, understood the immense danger. Their motivation transcended mere investigation. It had become a primal urge to halt the endless cycle of disappearances, to protect Bennington, and for Sarah to finally find a semblance of peace regarding her siblings' fate. They would return to the Whispering Hollow, not as seekers, but as challengers. They re-entered the hollow under the pale light of a moon struggling to pierce the perpetual gloom. This time, they were not merely observing, they were prepared. Miller carried a specialized electromagnetic pulse device, an experimental piece of equipment borrowed from a university contact, designed to disrupt localized energy fields. Sarah clutched a leather-bound grimoire, a gift from the old-timer, filled with cryptic symbols and chants he claimed could ward off unseen hunger. The air crackled with a palpable tension, heavier than before, as if the very forest held its breath. They reached the clearing, the ancient stones now seeming to pulse with a faint, malevolent light. The symbols Emily had uncovered glowed with an unnerving inner luminescence. The whispers intensified, no longer indistinct, but forming coherent, chilling phrases that burrowed directly into their minds, speaking of insatiable hunger, of timeless collection. The entity revealed itself not as a tangible monster, but as a swirling vortex of shadow and light, a tear in the fabric of reality itself, a consciousness that fed on the life force and fear of those drawn into its orbit. It was a cosmic predator, an intelligence beyond human comprehension, manipulating the very air, the very light around them. The confrontation was immediate and terrifying. The vortex expanded, its edges shimmering, pulling at their clothes, their minds, threatening to unravel their very existence. Miller, with a guttural cry of defiance, activated the EMP device. A high-pitched whine filled the air, followed by a blinding flash of light and a concussive wave that slammed into the vortex. For a moment, the entity recoiled, its form flickering, the whispers silenced. But it was only a momentary reprieve. It retaliated with a surge of energy, a concentrated beam of pure will that lashed out, striking Miller and sending him sprawling, unconscious. Sarah stood alone, the grimoire clutched in her trembling hands. The entity, sensing her isolation, focused its terrifying attention on her. Visions flooded her mind, her siblings' terrified face, the moment they vanished, the endless questions, the gnawing grief. It was trying to break her, to feed on her despair. But within that torment, a fierce resolve ignited. She understood now. This wasn't just about stopping the entity. It was about protecting others from the same fate. Her sibling was gone, but their memory, their sacrifice could fuel her. A critical choice presented itself. The old-timer's grimoire contained a final, desperate ritual, a binding chant that required immense focus and a willingness to offer a part of oneself to temporarily seal the rift. It was a personal sacrifice, a communion with the ancient forces that underpinned the hollow, a risk of losing herself in the process. With a deep breath, Sarah began the chant, her voice trembling at first, then growing steady, strong, echoing through the clearing. The symbols on the stones flared, responding to her invocation. The vortex screamed, a sound that tore at the very fabric of reality, as if in agony. Miller, stirring from his unconsciousness, saw Sarah, bathed in an ethereal glow, battling an unseen force. His eyes, now clear of all doubt, reflected pure resolve. He crawled towards her, shielding her with his body as the entity made one final, desperate lunge. He had dismissed her, doubted her, but now he understood. He was no longer just a cynical detective, he was a protector, an ally forged in the crucible of the unknown. His presence, his unwavering belief, became a shield, his own form of redemption. The immediate threat was neutralized. The vortex receded, its malevolent glow dimming, the whispers fading into an eerie silence. The Bennington Triangle remained, its secrets partially revealed, its danger contained but undeniably present. Sarah, exhausted but alive, felt a profound, aching closure regarding her sibling. She understood the nature of their disappearance, the cosmic indifference of the entity, even if it offered no reunion. She had faced the abyss and emerged, changed forever. Her initial grief and anger had transformed into a deeper understanding, a quiet strength. The town slowly began to heal, but the memory of the events, whispered in hushed tones, lingered. Sarah, transformed by her ordeal, continued her work, her investigations now imbued with a profound understanding of the world's hidden mysteries. She and Miller, an unlikely and uneasy alliance, knew that the silence in the hollow was temporary. As Sarah looked out over the verdant, seemingly peaceful landscape of Bennington, a subtle, almost imperceptible shimmer danced just above the distant tree line of the Whispering Hollow. The door was only temporarily closed, not sealed forever, a chilling reminder that some mysteries refuse to stay buried, and some hungers never truly die.